Hey everybody, this is Trish Jones and I want to welcome you to episode 26 of Speak to Trish. It is Monday, so I'm bringing you the Monday message, and I want to bring you a scenario and I want you to consider this. Can you imagine going to a seaside, right? And you know they have those huge telescopes that you put your money into and you can kind of survey the land or the sea, as it were. You know, you can kind of have a look around and just focus on whatever you want to focus on. Some of them have a zoom, some of them don't, but you know, it depends on how sophisticated they are. But can you imagine when you have done, or the person before you has done, you then walk over to the telescope, you drop your coin in, and instead of moving the telescope, you focus on the last image that that person has been looking at. And that image is boring. He's looking at some dry rock. There's nothing going on. There's no life around. And yet you've got all of this landscape and sea and beach and activity going on outside of this image, but you are stuck on that one image that somebody else left for you. And what's worse, you've even paid your money, right? But you're still looking at this dead rock. Nothing going on. It might seem crazy, but I actually have a telescope and I have used that illustration before now to demonstrate that this is how we often are in life. Someone could have said something to us when we were 6 or 12, 15, whatever it might be. And instead of changing the image, we are still focused on that image that somebody had created in our minds from the words that they have spoken over our lives. So somebody may have said, "You're too stupid." Somebody may have said, "You're never going to turn out to be anything good." Whatever it might be. And so you believe that lie because you're focused on that image and you won't choose to change channel. And let me give you an example from my own life. When I was younger, I was told that I was thick, right? Well, when I was younger, I was 17, 18, I believe. And I was told I was thick because I couldn't do maths. This wasn't by a member of my family, but it was someone I admired greatly. And let me just leave this thought with you. Very often, when we fix our image, our mind on those images that hurt us so badly, it generally speaking is because it comes from somebody whom we admire a lot. So I admired this person, and this person continually told me how thick I was and would tell other people as well because I couldn't do maths. And it's true. The fact that this broadcast could be worldwide, all over the place, quite frankly, you spread the message for me. Trish doesn't do maths. Beyond her 5 fingers, 10 fingers even. See what I told you, didn't I? Didn't I tell you? Right? Beyond her 10 fingers, right, 9 fingers, 2 thumbs, and her toes, she's stuck, right? She is stuck. She just doesn't do maths. But I was always very, very good at English. But instead of focusing on what I was good at, I spent forever trying to strengthen my weakness. And you should have seen my bookcase. I'm looking at my bookcase, right? I had a bookcase full of books on how to do maths. And quite frankly, I would do fractions, for example, right? And I would be studying. This is as an adult as well. We're talking up until about 10 years ago, this was still going on. I would be doing fractions and learning how to do them, and I would return to it a couple of days later, and everything I learned I'd forgotten. I just didn't know what I was doing, and I would get so stressed about it. And one day I rang my husband actually at work, so this was beyond 10 years because I haven't worked for an organization since my daughter was born 12 years ago. So but no, in fact, it carried on even after I had my daughter. But anyway, I digress. Going back to when I was working in an organization, I used to telephone my husband when it was pay rise time so I could work out the percentages and everything. And I'd kind of work them out and then go over them with him to make sure I got them right. And he would help me out over the phone. And one day he said to me, "I don't know why you get so stressed out about not being able to do maths. You have excelled in your company, and you know, if maths is the only thing that you need to worry about, you have got this far without it." And I thought about what he said, But then I went for promotion and they made this big thing about being able to do maths. And I remember even the manager saying to me after, he didn't want me to get the job anyway, right? And so he made this big thing about the maths as well, that, look at your results. And yet, in fact, I had to do maths to get into the company in the first place, and did reasonably well, apparently. But that just bothered me until one night I went to church and my pastor was speaking. This was a transformational leadership course that I was doing, and he was talking about the fact that people who make it big do not focus on their weaknesses, they focus on their strengths. And let me tell you that resonated deep in my heart, that I came home and I removed every maths book from my shelf. I took them downstairs to my husband and I said, do what you want with these. And initially he put them up in the loft, and then a couple of years later he chucked them out. So I was quite pleased, right? Because I just don't do maths. But when I got older, having been told I was thick, having believed that lie and bought into that lie that there was a limit that I was going to be able to do because I was no good at maths and I was always going to be stumbled by maths, I then went on to do an MBA. I have a master's degree, okay? And it involved maths as well. And I got through it. I didn't master the maths, but it was enough to get me through doing an MBA. But the MBA aside, because that's a piece of paper, it's not to say I didn't work towards it, because I worked darn hard. But what I realized in doing the MBA was the skills that came out, the strengths that I had either been suppressing or ignoring. One of them was my leadership ability. The other one was my writing ability, my creative writing ability. And it's in fact one of the reasons why I will not personally go and do a doctorate, even though a number of people have said to me on enough occasions, Trish, don't you want to go and do your PhD? No, I am happy not being Dr. Patricia Jones, right? Sounds very classy, I know. But I'm happy not being Dr. Patricia Jones. But I will say that if anybody wants to give me an honorary doctorate, Trish will receive it with gratitude. But otherwise, for me, I felt being forced to write from an academic angle really messed up my creative writing, and it took me years of studying copywriting to bring it back up to where it is today. But it was another strength that I realized. I hated having to write in the third person for a start, and I don't do thus, so and so happened thus. I'm always laughing at my husband, by the way, because he loves to do that, and he's written a couple of articles for me over the years, and I've said to him, whatever you do, do not use that word thus. Right? Thus says the Lord. Okay, whatever. I chucked that bit in, but I was just using Old English. But yeah, I don't do this Old English thing, and very often these academics tend to speak like that, write like that. Well, they don't write. Actually, they don't speak like that. That's the problem. They don't speak like that, but they force you to write like that. So I realized the strength that I had, my creative writing, and so I was happy to back off and do what I do. And I'm telling you now, you've heard me say it before probably if you've been listening to me or reading my articles over any length of time, people who fail in business do not generally fail because there is a problem with the process. Most people can learn process, and if you can't learn the process, you can outsource it. What stops people doing really well? What stops people succeeding is the stumbling block that they can't get over because somebody, auntie so-and-so, or their father or their mother or whoever it was that they admired, told them that this is all you're going to amount to. One of the, dare I say it? Yes, I am. One of the teachers at my daughter's school told the class last term, so before this new year, that none of you in here are going to be anything big. My daughter came home and told me, and I said, oh, okay, so he's the Almighty God now, is he? And fortunately, my daughter ignores that kind of nonsense because she has moi as a coach. But somebody might take that on and run with it, and they may have a dream of what they want to do, what they're passionate about. And that teacher may just have crushed their dream. I pray that somebody finds them and shows them the gift and the greatness in them before they allow those nonsense words to, what's the word I'm trying to think about, cement inside whoever it might be. But we have got to change the channel. We can't look at the images that somebody else has created for us. We can't even live in the box that somebody else has created for us. That's called the tribe. When you try to move out of the tribe says, I wouldn't do that if I were you. You know, so-and-so did that and look at what happened to them. You know, you've got to stay in the tribe. You've got to be like us. The minute you try to be different, somebody does not want you to change the image. They do not want you to change your environment. They do not want you to change the picture. And you have to make your own mind up that this picture, this image is no longer serving me. It is time to move on. And so you've got to go do your thing, because let me tell you, your influence lies where your strength is. Where you use your strength and you're using your strength naturally, that is where you are an influence. And if you are not able to use your influence, then you are always going to feel that you're not enough. You are always going to feel that you are straddling behind everybody else. But let me tell you, when you find your voice of strength, when you speak from who you are, when you know what you want in life, and you move towards that place of strength, you will have influence, and influence attracts. So those people who want to hear you will hear you. So guess what? I'm speaking to all of you now who think that you have an impediment because you have an accent. English isn't your first language. And you know what? Some of us Brits and Americans, we can be arrogant sometimes. We don't realize that there are people in other countries who look at us and they regard us as having the accent, right? So you know, I don't care whether you are from the Caribbean or whether you have French flavor or Polish, Italian, whatever your voice might be, use that voice, because that is your voice of influence, complete with your accent. Somebody out there will love your voice and love you. So I don't know if you can hear the passion in my voice, but I want people to be 100% who they are. I want you to be you. Go out and do your thing. Speak from your own voice. Love what you do, and you will attract those people to you who are supposed to hear your voice, who are supposed to hear your voice and hear your heart, feel your heart. Accent completed with the accent. So go do your thing and make an impact in this world. I love you all. God bless. Speak to you in the next episode of Speak to Trish. Ciao for now.